Looking at the steering wheel as well as the cluster screen inside of the Honda Passport. First thing to point out is that the steering wheel inside the vehicle is going to be manual telescoping across the lineup. So just down on the left side of the column by your left knee, there's a release. Drop down and full telescoping, so you can go in, out, up and down to find that perfect position for you. Once you find it, you're going to click it in order to lock it back into place. You've got a series of different buttons and stalks, but there are some different buttons here down by your left knee. So you can open and close the liftgate door. For your windshield, if you've got the defroster there, you've got that available. So you've got your defroster here, and then you've also got your front defroster. So the one along this side here is the electronic defroster. From there, you might have seat memory inside of your Passport. If you've got the memory option available, what you're going to do, set your seat up the way that you'd like to. So the first switch here, you can move the seat forwards, backwards, up, or down. You can also do a little bit of a diagonal motion there as well. The next one back is going to be to adjust your backrest, and then the circular one in the very back is going to be for your lumbar support. Get that set up the way that you'd like to, and then set up your side view mirror as well. So clicking all the way to the left or all the way to the right in the middle would do nothing. But once you have that set up, you're going to tap Set, either 1 or 2 for it to remember your own personal profile. At least that way, when you hop back in, you could then push 1 or 2 for it to go back to your seat position. The steering wheel inside the vehicle is going to be heated. So you've got your heated button there with just a single level available, but it's heated all the way around. And then all the different buttons here in stock. So we'll start off stock along this side. You can use that for your blinkers and then flashing out your high beams. But you can see here, I'm pushing away. It's not locking out my high beams though. And that's because I'm in the auto mode. If you go into the infotainment system here and shoot across to vehicle settings, lighting setup, you've got auto high beam, and I highly recommend keeping the auto high beam setting turned on there. And the reason why is because later on at night, if high beams are needed, the car is going to turn them on automatically. If somebody's oncoming, it turns them off before turning them right back on again. But if you wanted to permanently lock your high beams out, go into the upper headlamp mode, push away to turn them on, pull towards you in order to turn them off. But like I said, auto mode I think is the way to be. You then have the flexibility of turning your fog lights on or off if you've got them inside of your Passport. Along this side, it's going to be for your wipers. So you go 1 up, just for a quick wipe. 1 down to go to your intermittent level or your auto mode. You could then move this rocker in the middle for how fast or slow rain's hitting the windshield. Go to some of those faster modes instead. And then along this side, you've also got the flexibility of adjusting your rear wiper. You can also go all the way down this way, or up as well in order to get that rear camera wiper going. And then you can pull in towards you in order to get the front windshield wipers going instead. You've also got a button on the tip of the right stalk there. And when you push that, that's going to be for your camera. So you've got a full 360 view. You can switch between a few different views this way, but you can keep on pushing to jump between different views or turning it off instead. The car also has paddles. So you've got your plus along the right-hand side with your minus along the left. So if you wanted to drop gears out to be able to shoot up your RPMs to pass somebody, you can do that. If you need to rely on engine braking, you can do that as well. But if you want a deeper explanation of when to use the paddles, why to use them, etc., you'll find a walkthrough down in the description of this video. From there, you've also got the option of changing between all of your presets. So if you have presets set up, you can go left or right this way. You can also push and hold either way in order for it to act as a seek button there instead. You can increase or decrease the volume this way, or underneath the infotainment system there, you can toggle audio on off this way if you'd like to. And then you've also got your voice command prompt here, where you'll be able to do things like change songs, radio stations. You can navigate using your voice as well. If you were hooked up over Android Auto, Apple CarPlay, you could do a long button push and hold of that button in order to activate your Siri or your Google Assistant. There's a little scroll wheel in the middle here to move between a few different options. And then you can also push the button in the middle there, but I'll touch on that scroll wheel in just a second. Along this side, you've also got a series of other buttons. So you've got cruise control with 2 different types of cruise that are available inside of the Passport. So there's traditional cruise control and adaptive cruise. In order to turn these things on, so you'd push the button here, and you can see inside of the cluster screen there that it turns the cruise control system on. You then set your speed by pushing down. It's not going to work because I'm parked, but you'd push down in order to set. You could then increase, decrease 1 kilometer, 1 mile per hour at a time by moving up or down. You can push and hold up or push and hold down to increase, decrease at larger increments. You can hit the brake pedal to cancel pause your speed. You can push that cancel button there to cancel pause your speed, and then push up again in order to resume your previously set speed. So you'd push up. But I mentioned the two different types of cruise. So if you take your gap adjustment button here, if you push and hold it, that's going to switch you between the traditional cruise or the adaptive cruise. So the difference with the traditional cruise control, if the car in front of you slows down, yours will not brake. Versus the adaptive cruise, the person in front of you slows down, yours will automatically brake based off of how close or far you want to be from the vehicle that's in front of you. So I'm personally okay level 1 most of the time, but you might want to be on 2, 3, or 4 depending on your own comfort level or your own reaction speed. But it's a great system because if the car in front of you slows down, yours brakes, they change lanes, you change lanes, it'll pick you back up to your previously set speed as well. There's also this one here, which is like a lane centering or lane follow assist system. So the car is not self-driving, but when you get these systems working in tandem together, it gets really close. So what you'll notice is with this centering system on, if the vehicle recognizes the lane markings, it'll show up in the middle there of the cluster screen. And then if you go around a bend, etc., it's going to keep you perfectly balanced. You can lightly grip the steering wheel and you'll actually feel the car making that turn yourself. It is beautiful. But if you want a live demonstration of actually using the cruise control system, you'll find it down in the description of this video. And the only other one to point out is going to be up and down this way in order to adjust out the right part of the cluster screen. Inside of the cluster screen, you've got your engine temperature along the left-hand side, outside temperature here with your tachometer there, and then you've got your current gear that you're in. So whether that's park, reverse, neutral, drive, or your S mode, which is a sequential mode. So the difference between the drive mode and sequential, drive it's still automatic transmission, but your drive mode is going to switch you between gears 1 to 10, but it might go from gear 1 up to gear 4 as you go to accelerate. Versus the sequential mode, what that one does is it's going to go from gear 1 to gear 2 to gear 3, etc. So that's closer to a red line, which I would say is fairly close to an actual sport drive mode, which I'll touch on the drive modes in just a minute here. Whether or not you've got your cruise control system enabled, current vehicle speed done a few different ways, and then you've got your car here, which is actually kind of neat because you hit the brake pedal, or if you hit the turn stalk to go left, right, etc., flashing up beams that shows you exactly what's going on with your car. You can see what drive mode that you're currently in along the very bottom as you cycle between different modes, along with your different sensing systems and safety systems, and then your current odometer along the very bottom. Now, this part of the cluster screen and this middle part can also be customized. So you can use the little scroll wheel along the left side of the steering wheel here in order to adjust a few things out. So going up and down, we can change between all of the available audio sources, so AM, FM, Bluetooth, Android Auto, etc., where you can customize the display. So did you want to show or hide different things? And that's specifically as we're scrolling. So if you know you're never going to use Alexa or Apple CarPlay, etc., you can disable those from our scroll. The one that's grayed out at the bottom there has to stay there regardless. And then there's also the option of displaying different content. So you can either have it blank on the cluster screen, you can show the audio and clock, or elevation and compass. So if we were to look at, let's go elevation and compass here, you can see that we've got our current compass direction and then our current elevation. Or you could have the clock showing there as well, or audio if you're listening, or you can just have it off so that there's nothing there. So it's essentially just a naked screen along the left-hand side. Along the right-hand side here, same thing, series of different options that are available. So we start off at the very top, and that's your range and fuel, so your different trip counters. You can see your current range there, so you've got your gas done a few different ways. And then you've got your fuel economy that you've gotten with a trip A versus B counter. So we're using the scroll wheel along the right-hand side in order to be able to move up and down this way instead. But if you push the scroll wheel in the middle, that's going to let you change between either your trip A versus trip B counter. You can push and hold in order to be able to reset at that point as well. You can also play with the trip counters here a little bit. Inside of the infotainment system, if you go to your vehicle settings, meter setup along the outside, you've got a series of options here. So you can actually set when do you want your trip A versus trip B to reset. Manually resetting is pushing and holding the scroll wheel there, but you can have it reset every time the ignition's turned off or every time you fully fuel up. And then you can turn those turn-by-turn directions off as well if you'd like to. And you can also adjust your measurement units here. So you can adjust them inside of the infotainment system rather than going through the cluster. Down a level is going to give you your speed and time. And same idea, we can go for speed and time, pushing the button in the middle in order to jump between trip A versus B. Push and hold the middle there if you wanted to be able to recenter that one out. Down one more time is going to give you a full mapping cluster. And that's strictly going to be for factory navigation. So if you're hooked up over Android or iPhone devices, etc., it wouldn't show there. But if you've got a route actively going inside of the infotainment system, so Google Maps built in, as we go to start here, look at that. You've got your full mapping cluster view available here as well. Down a level, you've got driver attention safety. So if you start to veer over too many times without signaling, looks like you're drowsy, etc., the cars eventually, as that counter goes up, will eventually tell you that you should probably take a break. You can see your torque distribution as well. So as you go to hammer your foot down, you can see which axle is getting which amount of power. It looks really neat if you're speeding up faster. Then your vehicle's pitch and roll. So if you're going off-road or even just general day-to-day circumstances, you can see if the vehicle's turned to the left or the right or up and down, which if you're going off pavement can really help out. With your seatbelts, if there's weight on the seat, you'll be able to see who's there and whether or not they're plugged in or not, yes or no. For maintenance, you can see your current oil life. Tire pressure is available there as well. And then your safety support. So if you push the button in the middle, so that little rocker wheel, you can move between or disable all of these different safety settings if you really wanted to. So road departure mitigation, if you start to veer over into another lane without signaling, it'll nudge you back into your lane. Versus blind spot system, so if somebody enters the blind spot on either side, it highlights in the side view mirror, letting you know that somebody's there. There's low speed brake control as well, so if you're reversing, it could potentially brake for you. Your parking sensors, so that beeping that you get as you get closer to obstacles can be disabled. And then collision mitigation. So if you're potentially going to get into a collision, it can warn you as well. There are some advanced settings that are available inside of the infotainment system. So if you want to walk through on that, you'll find it down in the description of this video. There's no content. So if you just want a naked screen along that right side, you could. You can adjust out the brightness here. I always just recommend max brightness. That's just a matter of preference. With your vehicle stability control, so that stability assist, you can disable it if you want to. The only time you really want to disable that in really slippery, snowy conditions if you're not getting good wheel traction. But that's where just flipping out to the snow drive mode could come into play as well. And then you can also customize. So you'd have the flexibility of changing either between miles or kilometers, and you'll be able to see it adjust absolutely everything out. So if we go back to our trip counters again, you can see there, it's changed everything. So it's changed our miles along the bottom. It's changed our miles per gallon, etc. there as well. So a little bit of flexibility there. Back home, let's go back to kilometers again, and you can show or hide different things as well if you'd like. So as we scroll up and down, what items that aren't grayed out do you want to disable? So if you don't care about having a blank screen, the ones that are grayed out, you can't turn those ones off, so they have to be there. But you can disable any of these other ones. So if you don't want that driver assistance screen, speed and time, etc., you can disable it. And then there are a few unique gauge designs as well. I'm personally a bigger fan of round, which is what we're looking at. You can go to a bar view instead if you'd like. Just kind of different. Round minimal, so it doesn't show off quite as much information. And then you can go bar minimal or just fully minimal instead. So if you wanted a much more simplified screen, you've got that available. So you don't even have a tachometer at that point. But I'm personally just a bigger fan of the double round setup, but I'd play around with that one a little bit until you find a look that's perfect for you. And you've got your volume rocker pushing in the middle in order to be able to toggle your audio on off. You've got heated seats in most trim levels with ventilated in the higher trims. And there's technically tri-zone climate control. So you can set something different for the driver passenger side, toggle on that second row climate there as well. And you can even lock out the second row climate. So if you don't want people in the back using that climate setting, you've got that available instead. If the passenger side is ever set to something different than the driver, you can sync up the passenger side to whatever the driver's side set to instead. So if we go front climate, sync it all up as well. From there, you can say whether or not it's hitting your windshield face feet, and it pops up there, but it also pops up inside of the infotainment system. Air conditioning going there as well. So if you are in summertime, you want your AC going, make sure you tap there. There's your front defroster, rear defroster with your side view mirror defroster, and then air circulation. So the way that that one works, if it's turned on, it's going to circulate air inside the cabin. With it off, it pulls air from outside into the vehicle. Got a little storage tray, 2 USB Type-C power points. So this one is for data transfer if you're using wired Android Auto, Apple CarPlay, or a USB stick with MP3s or other audio files. This one's just for charging. There's a 12-volt power point, wireless charge pad that you can actually toggle off, some cup holders with a teeny bit of ambient light, and then your different shifter there. So you've got your park, reverse, neutral, drive, or drive again for that sequential mode. Down from there, all of your drive modes are available here too. So your drive modes, you've got along the very top, sport mode. So rather than the car shifting at, let's say, 2,000 RPM, it might wait until closer to red line, so 5 or 6. So it gives you a much sportier performance overall. Normal is just going to be for your day-to-day driving. Eco is the best possible economy. So ideally, you're in the Eco when you're just cruising on the highway. And then there are more like off-road day-to-day. So you've got snow mode, plays with traction stability control. Trail, sand, etc. Same idea, play with traction stability control as well. Turn on downhill brake control, and then a tow mode if you're towing inside the vehicle. But you're probably, like I said, going to be in econ mode the majority of the time. Sport mode if you want a heck of a lot more fun. But eco is the way to go for sure. From there, you've got the auto start stop system. So that's the one where if you come down to a complete stop, the engine might turn off. This next one here is downhill brake control. There's your electronic parking brake. So you're going to pull up in order to turn it on, push and hold the brake pedal, and push down to turn it off. And then there's your actual brake hold here as well. So with the brake hold, if you come down to a complete stop, you can take your foot off the brake pedal and the vehicle is not going to move. Up overhead, there's the auto-dimming rearview mirror that you can actually toggle off here. And then all of your basic light controls. So do you want your lights to come on? Yay, nay. The switch here, do you want the lights to never come on? In the middle, do you want them to come on when the doors are opened up? Or do you want the lights always on instead? You've also got controls here for your sunroof, a little SOS tow mode. So your roof there, slide away in order to control that shade. You can push up to create a little breeze, close, and then push away there in order to be able to fully open it. So I know that was a heck of a lot of information, but that's everything you need to know about the steering wheel as well as the cluster screen inside of the Honda Passport.